Welcome to a special edition of The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno is ready to file a motion to reverse her colleague's decision to oust her.
Habang tumitindig tayo para sa matuwid, hindi tayo kailanman magiging talunan.
And despite Sereno's repeated claims, Malacanang insists it respects and recognizes the separation of powers of the three branches of government. Former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno joins us live. And later, a closer look at the impeachment complaint versus the former Chief Justice.
We in Congress, while we have that power to impeach, we are not removing that power as well to the Supreme Court to act on and take jurisdiction on co-warranto.
House Justice Committee Chairman Ray Umali and Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Sal Panelo tells us more in the program. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. Former Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno is set to appeal her ouster. On May 11th, the Supreme Court voted 8-6 to grant the co-warranto petition filed by Solicitor General Jose Calida against Sereno. The High Court justices found Sereno's appointment in 2012 as Chief Justice invalid due to her supposed failure to submit the required statement of assets, liabilities, and net worth. All this happened amid an ongoing impeachment case against her at the House of Representatives. Let's go straight to the source of the story. Former Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Ma'am, good morning to you and welcome to the show.
Hi, good morning, Pinky, and good morning to all your viewers.
Sanay na ho ba kayong tawaging former Chief Justice?
Well, it doesn't matter too much to me, no? The important thing is I fight for the principles I believe in. There is still a motion for reconsideration. The story is not yet finished, Pinky, and it's a larger story than we originally thought.
What did you originally think, and why is it much larger now?
I thought that I would really just have to prepare for the Senate impeachment trial. So when there were challenges early on for me to just resign, because they said, you will never be able to endure the torture of an impeachment trial, I said, well, I want to go through the constitutional process because precisely it's meant to preserve the democracy. So in fact, according to Raul Berger, to preserve the institutions of democracy and all constitutional officers, the best way of protecting that is the impeachment process. So I was quiet. For so long, I was quiet. There was a one-sided hearing. So all the preparations were largely on the legal and factual side. Very rarely did I make an appearance, and it turns out that things had to be accelerated, and then so many people picked up the cause of judicial independence. So this resonates, Pinky. This means that obviously what I thought was going to be a limited battle was going to be really a large one, a fight for the people's cause, for a preservation of our democratic rights and the checks and balances that we need.
The last time, CJ, I interviewed you, you didn't really want to talk about the co-warranto, saying that it could be a sub judice, but you were saying that we all knew that you were saying that you were preparing yourself for the impeachment trial,
Yes.
but you knew that there was a possibility that the impeachment will not happen. Hence, if the justices voted for the granting the co-warranto petition filed by Sol Gen Jose Calida. All right, it's been 10 days since the 8 justices decided to oust you. How have you been since? Has there been any change?
The point of view that I shared with you remains valid because you have seen 14 senators give their sense that they should be the ones to decide on whether the Chief Justice should be removed from office or not, and not the Supreme Court. That's a major development, Pinky, and I think everyone should pay attention to the fact that the exclusive body vested by the Constitution with the power to remove impeachable officers is exerting its right. It's not something that can just be easily set aside.
14 of them. I want to talk about that a little later on because we also need to talk about the House of Representatives. But just personally, how's the challenge been since 10 days ago, since that decision, ma'am?
The challenge now is basically to help people understand why it is important to preserve the checks and balances and why co-warranto should not be used to erode our constitutional gains. Ang dami nang nakuha natin bilang isang bansa. Pinky, we have been already hailed as a champion of democracy. Naging model na tayo sa Asia. So many people launch their own democracy movements patterned after ours. So, ang problema na lang, kailangan nating cascade down sa taong bayan. So, I have been listening very carefully, and people have been saying that your issue, your cause resonates with us. So, obviously, it's not about me anymore. Parang lumiliit na nga yung aking role eh. Parang taong bayan ang nagte-take over ng cause. So, I'm happy to share this fight with so many others. It's not a personal one. It's obviously something that is about principles and the basic values of us as a people. Ano ba talaga ang ating pinahahalagahan? Yung respeto sa bawat isa, na hindi mag-concentrate ang power sa iisang tao lamang o sa iisang sangay. At kaya pa bang takbuhan, tumakbo sa mga judges kung sila ay natatakot dahil sa co-warranto? Kasi ang co-warranto ngayon, hindi na pwede yung 1-year prescription period.
Rule 66.
Correct. Wala nang Rule 66 effectively na mapagsasabi. Yan ang sinabi nga nagpakamatay na daw ang hudikatura. So, sabi yan ni Justice Kagiwa, no? At nanganak ng legal abomination ang Supreme Court. So, kung gayon pala, ang kailangan natin pag-isipan ano bang ibig sabihin nito sa maliliit na tao? Ang presyo ng bigas, ang presyo ng petrolyo, ang taas ng bilihin, ang mga kahirapan sa buhay. Paano na yung mga negosyong maliliit na natatanggal na lang bigla? Tatakbo sila sa huwes, pero yung huwes nanganganib. Pagkalaban ng mga maliliit mabibigating tao, isang connection lang sa Solicitor General at sa Presidente o sa political allies man lang nila. Nasaan na ngayon ang karapatan ng tao?
I want to jump to that. I wanted to ask you, I think it was Senator Franklin Drilon who said that the Solicitor General is the most powerful person in the bureaucracy, if I'm not mistaken. That came from him. Do you agree?
Yeah. He has been turned into the most powerful person now, next to the President. Even more powerful than the Senate combined. All 24 senators cannot do what Solgen Calida can do now.
Does this mean, CJ, that every trial court judge, any member of the judiciary, the CA, the Supreme Court, can be exposed to a co-warranto petition?
Yes, that's the clear message to everyone. You weaponize a rule that is not often used in the Supreme Court and in the judiciary, and then you destroy everything in the Constitution that prevents such an abuse of power. One obscure rule, hindi man masyadong obscure, pero obscure enough to say that there are not many, very, very few co-warranto cases. All of them saying that basically it's just exactly, the rule has always been uniform. Not more than 1 year.
Okay, I wanna talk about that just for those who may not be very aware of that. That's Rule 66 in the co-warranto. It says that basically there's a, please correct me if I'm wrong, ma'am, a 1-year prescriptive period by which a co-warranto can be filed. There were two experts, I would say, I spoke to. One is the former Chief Justice Hilario Davide, and the other one is Justice Nachura, both having opposing views. One said it's a 1-year prescriptive period, which means 2012, the time you were appointed. Dapat 1 year from then, which is 2013. But Justice Nachura was saying that it's 1 year from the time of discovery.
Medyo mahirap paniwalaan yung ganong paninindigan kasi ibig sabihin mo, palitan mo yung Solicitor General tomorrow, bago ang Solicitor General, kasi hindi natin alam kung nasaan, may mga issues siya ngayon, no? Malay mo, tomorrow hindi na siya ang Solicitor General, bago na. E di yung 1-year period na yan, magra-run for all the 1 million public officers in the country, kasi hindi lang yan applicable sa impeachable officials, sa lahat. So for the 1 million, magbibilang ulit sila. Ano ang malalaman niya within 1 year? Yun, pwede siyang mag-file. Kahit near retirement na yung
So yung time element is forever? Is that what you're saying?
It's forever. It's basically gone.
So malabo ho talaga sa inyo yung upon discovery, as Justice
Wala
Lucero was
talagang
saying.
reason. Wala talagang reason.
Ma'am, however, there is, when you talk about, well, obviously members of the administration, they would say that yung operative word kasi in the Constitution is may be impeached. In other words, there are other options to go to, such as a co-warrant, o hindi naman shall be. Meron daw difference ang shall be at may be.
Magandang discussion yan sa dissent, no? Kasi yung maybe, when taken into the context, only talks about the fact that discipline does not only talk about impeachment. Pwede mga disciplinary measures less than removal. So maraming pwedeng gawing pagdidisiplina ng isang impeachable official. Pero hindi mo ibig sabihin na linagay mo lang ang maybe, bubuksan mo na lahat at itatransfer mo ang power from the Senate to the judiciary at the initiative of the Solicitor General. That was never the intention. Clear yun sa deliberations ng Constitutional Commission.
You have 15 days to file your motion for reconsideration. I know, ma'am, that it's difficult to discuss this being sub judice, but when will you file the MR?
Well, it will be on or before May 30.
Are there
That's
new
the 15th
arguments?
day. I'm sure my lawyers would want to be the first to show the new arguments. So let them finish it first, and then we can announce the new arguments.
How much of a participation do you have, being the accused and the Chief Justice herself?
Just enough so that I do not unduly intrude into the professional work of the lawyers. I have to show them utmost respect. But I also want to make sure that my personal convictions are fully reflected. If they need to be quite strongly articulated, but respectfully, they will be. They will find their way in some of the words there.
I want to get this clear, ma'am. Some are saying that if there is a change of heart and it becomes 7-7, that still this does not keep you a CJ. It doesn't put you back in position. What some are saying, that's why gusto ko pong linawin, do you need 2 votes to overturn the decision, or do you need just 1 vote to overturn the decision?
I will leave it to the rest of my colleagues to rule on that or to decide that. I will not preempt their action on the matter.
So is that a question mark?
Well, that means that basically I know that there may be a debate on that, so I will not join that debate.
All right. 8 justices said you were not qualified. Status co-warranto is justified because you were not qualified to begin with. Okay, that's going into the merits of the the motion for reconsideration that you will file. However, you asked 6 of them to inhibit, and when you spoke right after the decision, you said it was a victory because out of the 8, only 2 actually said that you should be ousted.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yes, that's a moral victory because obviously basic rules of fairness, just even plain common sense, requires that your accuser cannot be your judge. And 5 of them testified against me. So clearly under the rules on compulsory inhibition, they should not have participated. And 1 thereafter said that I am unfit because I profess too much belief in God. So he has already expressed a bias, and so I then said that he should also inhibit. If those who had shown bias and prejudgment on my fitness to sit, and some had even shown personal hurt, expressed personal hurt at my assumption of office, then they should really inhibit. If they had inhibited, it would have been a clear and resounding victory. It would have only been 2 who would have said that I should step down.
So if you were to hope that some of them would change their minds, it would only be the 2 out of the 8.
I'm hoping all 8 will change their minds for the sake of the country. I'm hoping for all 8.
And how small or how big is that possibility, ma'am?
Okay, realistically, that hope that all 8 will reconsider is not a big one, obviously. But there is always a glimmer of hope in everything. So I maintain that the only way this is not a pro forma filing of a motion for reconsideration. So the conviction that there can still be a change of mind accompanies that filing.
Mm-hmm. Before we go on a break, your critics are saying that you really had a hand in your ouster because you should just look into the mirror And if you do, you'll find out it was you who caused yourself to be ousted for not filing your SALN. I think it was spokesperson Harry Roque who said that, ma'am. Tumingin ka lang daw sa salamin at makikita mo sinong nasa likod ng pagpapatalsik sa'yo sa pwesto.
I really didn't particularly hear that interview or statement from the presidential spokesperson. But if he did that, then every official should also be looking at themselves in the mirror if they even satisfy the basic requirements of integrity. My case is all about missing documents. There's not really at that the charge that I had pilfered a single centavo from government coffers or that I did not do my job. So I think that that mirror should be held up to others. I am the reason why I am of the firm belief that I should go through the Senate trial is because I want a large mirror, a national mirror, to be held up against my own behavior. Everybody will be able to pitch in and say, why did Sereno commit this and that? And I will be able to say, I did this because this is my belief. I denied this request because it would have cost money that should not have been spent. So those would have been the real story. Ang problema, I never had the chance. I never had the chance to give my story to the people. One-sided from the beginning up to now. One-sided. Wala akong naging forum para ikwento in a very dignified manner the charges, the baseless charges that have been hurled against me.
Ma'am, if you had filed your SALNs, for the sake of argument, do you think aabot ho dito ang inyong problema or your challenge or your situation?
Palagay ko maghahanap pa rin.
We'll be taking a short break. This is The Source on CNN Philippines. Still to come, we'll discuss former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno's plans. She'll still be with us after the break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Ma'am, we were talking about the Solgen. Now you have Jocelyn Acosta filing an administrative and graft complaint against Calida before the Ombudsman, saying that we're talking about integrity, reveal your SAL, and challenging the Solgen. What are your thoughts on that?
I think the reason why the SAL of Calida is being asked to be shown is because the charge is basically hidden wealth or entering into conflict of interest with government on contracts that he should not even have, that should not even have seen the light of day in a government office. So this is so far from my situation. My situation is missing documents. So that's a good challenge, actually. And especially when, in addition to my last statement, I expressed to you my belief that even if there had been complete documentation of all my filings, they would still have dug to the deepest level to find anything at all, to find a way to oust me.
You were seen in fighting form recently asking the president to resign. We have a clip of that. If it's ready, let's listen to it, please.
Sabihin mo sa taong bayan ang totoo. At anong sinabi niya? Ikaw ay aking kaaway. At uutusan ko ang Kongresong tanggalin ka kagad, sisiguraduhin kong tutulungan ko pa si Ginoong Calida. Ano po ang ibig sabihin noon? Yung kahapong sinasabi niyang hindi totoo at magre-resign daw siya, pang ilang beses na po nating narinig na magre-resign siya. Galing sa kanyang bibig ang pag-amin na siya ang pasimula at magpupursige sa pagtanggal sa akin. Pues, Ginoong Pangulo, mag-resign ka na.
Are you reiterating that call for the president to resign, ma'am?
Oo. Can I just go back, no, dun sa isang question mo na nag-assume ka, no, na kung may problema ako. Pinky, wala ang problema sa SALN, no? So, let me just clarify that I filed what I was required to file. Now, dun sa tinatanong na yung sa presidente na i-reiterate ko, ganito lang naman kasimple yon. Fairness na ang pinag-uusapan ng mga tao ngayon. Pantay ba ang mga tao sa pagtingin ng mga bagay. So it was really also fair for me to remind the President that April 9, he told Congress to proceed immediately to ensure I am ousted, and the following day or the same day, Speaker Alvarez said, "Yes, sir." And the President even said, "Tutulungan ko pa si Calida at sisiguraduhin ko para siya ay manalo." So it was fair for me to remind him because the night before I made that statement, sabi niya, wala talaga akong kinalaman. Kung may pruweba kayo na may kinalaman ako, magre-resign ako. Fair lang na ipaalala ko sa kanya ang sarili niyang mga salita. Ngayon, parang hindi naman yata siya nagre-respond dun sa paalala, kundi ang mga sinasabi ng spokesperson iba, parang nililihis, ano? So, hayaan na natin siya dyan sa ganyang bagay. Kaya ang gusto ko na lang ngayon, lahat natin tayo, pag-usapan natin ang namimiligro nating demokrasya. Dahil dito sa pagyayanig sa hudikatura.
But you're still calling for him to resign. Is
Well,
that so?
I'm calling for him to fulfill his promise.
To resign?
Yes.
At sinabi po ng Pangulo, kung meron pong pruweba, magre-resign siya. What is the proof you're talking about? Is it that the statement he made for Congress to go ahead with the impeachment and that he declare you as, I now declare you as my enemy? Yun ho ba?
Oo, yung April 9 statement niya na sinabi niya, uutusan niya ang buong Kongreso. Pero yung uutusan niya, sa akin nakakagimbal For a president to say, uutusan ko ang buong Kongreso. Nakalimutan na niya, nahiwalay siya sa Kongreso. And then sabihan niya, tutulungan pa niya si Calida para siguraduhin manalo. Anong klaseng pagre-respeto ito? Di parang sinabi niya na siya na rin talaga ang promotor nitong co-warranto. So tapos sinabi niya siya ay magre-resign. Ang sinasabi ko lang, ito po ang sinabi niyo
Co-warranto, you talked about it again, ma'am. Yung constitutional consequences ho nito, ano ba? Para sa inyo?
Ang constitutional consequences nito ay ganito, no? Ang Senado parang ginawang, pasensya na yung salita po, no? Parang ginawang inutil po sila. Na hindi na ho sila ang magdedesisyon ng impeachment kasi mahaba po ang impeachment, no? Ang dali lang pala mag-file ng co-warranto. Ngayon, ang co-warranto under Rule 66 pwede sa Regional Trial Court. So, ang Regional Trial Court pwede actually magpatanggal ng isang impeachable official. Commission on Elections, COA, people, lahat kahit silang kahit silang patalsikin ng SOLGEN at ng RTC lang.
Ma'am, yung resolution ng 14 senators, ano hong value nito para sa inyo?
Malakas ho ito na pagpapaalala in a very strong way na Supreme Court, please, sa amin po iyan. Huwag naman ho kayong kadalos-dalos, maaari naman pong i-rebisita at i-review nyo ulit yung desisyon nyo. Maaari hong paalalahanan namin kayo na ang konstitusyon sa amin lang po ibinigay ang ganyang kapangyarihan.
So it's just a reminder. Over and above that, meron pa ho bang effect ito?
May malaking moral authority yan. May moral authority napakalakas yan. So kailangan pakinggan yan.
All right. Meron hong plans to, in the House of Representatives naman, ma'am, to impeach 8 of the justices who granted the co-warranto.
Hindi ko na yan panghihimasukan kasi hindi naman ako unang-una, parang hindi ko na dapat isipin yung mga bagay na yan, no? So, ang co-warranto lang naman na petition, yun ang aking trabaho ngayon. So, tinututukan ko yan. Kung bakit nila gagawin yan at anong ma-achieve niyan, hindi ko na kayang bigyan ng opinion pa.
Paano kung yung ibang justices of the Supreme Court ay filean din ng co-warranto because of supposed non, lack, or incomplete? For example, SAL-ENS, ma'am.
Sinabihan na nga sila ni Justice Leonen lahat na sila actually vulnerable. Yung mga nagdi-dissent, yung mga hindi kaalyado, lahat ng judges, vulnerable na. Pag sinabi mong vulnerable, ibig sabihin, hindi sila makakapag-desisyon nang hindi iniisip yung panganib na nakaabang sa kanilang karera. Magdi-decision sila ng napakalakas, anong mangyayari? I-impeach rin ba sila? I'm sorry, iko-co-warranto rin pala sila. Oo,
so is that a threat against possible decisions that the justices will make?
Yes, definitely. That's the content of the dissents. Yun ang very strong point ng mga dissents. Paano na kami magiging fully independent ngayon? So kami kailangan mag-iisip lagi. you have rendered the judiciary, every judge, vulnerable.
And how is that in terms of the balance of power or the separation of power among three branches of
The
government?
judiciary does not have the power of the purse. Hindi siya maka-allocate ng pera. Naghihintay siya ng budget from Congress. Hindi siya pwedeng lumaban ng husto even from that budget. Kasi pag pupunta siya sa Kongreso, sasabihin niya, oh, tandaan nyo ha, hindi naman kayo fully independent. And then the legislature, the judiciary also does not have the power of the sword. So when the executive says, we will not follow you, hindi na siya makaka-insist very strongly. Ngayon nga lang, hirap na eh. Actually, we will not follow you. So sasabihin ng PNP, AFP, or any other law enforcement agency, we will not follow you. Ang hirap nun masyado.
Okay, all right. Ma'am, how would you describe the Supreme Court now?
Well, the description I have made of the Supreme Court is in terms of showing the deleterious effects, the bad effects of the decision on our constitutional structure, on the checks and balances, and on the rights of our citizens. Yun ang description ko na ginawa dun sa decision niya na 8 majority. So beyond that, hindi na muna ako magsasalita, Pinky.
Ma'am, political plans, kayo ho ba talaga itatakbong senador?
Yung mga pinag-iisipan ng mga ibang tao, no, hindi ko pa pinag-iisipan. The reason why it must be postponed, no? It must be postponed, thinking about it carefully, is we have a fight still in our hands. May 30 is fast approaching. Right now, I'm just trying to clear my mind so that we will have a chance of winning a reconsideration. Beyond that, I have already committed, Pinky, that a movement must come out of all of this, because we cannot allow such a sad part or a sad segment in our history to not have a redemptive value. Kailangan makahanap tayo ng redemption dito eh. Ano ang good dito?
So ano yung movement,
The
ma'am?
good is supposed to allow people to have a voice in a movement that will talk about justice and accountability. Hustisya. Hustisya para sa bayan at pagtutuos ng kailangang accountability for injustices.
Alright.
Yun ang movement na palagay ko nabubuo na. So that's the second step, no?
And then, tsaka na po yung kung sakaling pasukin yung politika.
Saka na po yun, Pinky, kasi mas masalimuot po ang politika. Hindi po natin makikita talaga ang kalahatang kalahatang landasin na kailangan nating hindi pa ngayon, hindi pa ngayon.
All right. Former Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno, ma'am, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat.
Thank you so much.
Pinky, thank you.
We'll be taking a short break. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines.